I'm David Mushegain from Los Angeles. Nice to meet you guys. I made a documentary called What'd You Say Your Name Was? This story was about my friend and mentor, Gene Krell. Gene I guess he got his career started here in London. He had a shop called Granny's Takes a Trip, and he worked very closely with Vivian and Malcolm at their shops here. And obviously the whole movement of punk and everything came out of that. And Gene's was dressing the Stones and Hendrix and all these people. And he ended up back in New York City where he was born and had an idea to start Vogue in Japan and actually in Asia, and started in Korea and then in Japan. And so the story basically talks about bridging fashion from, I guess, the East to the West in a way. And I thought it was a very important story to be told as far as fashion history is concerned. Obviously we have Vivian in the movie, and Ray and Yoji. And Gene's story is just very dynamic, and I just think, for me, the important thing is that fashion students watch this, because I think it's a very important part of the history of fashion. So I guess one thing I realized making this is there's a big responsibility in making a documentary. I primarily shoot photos, and my friend Craig McLean, who I directed this with, is a huge fashion photographer, and it was an interesting adventure for us, but I was happy to be able to tell Gene's story. I think the real challenge is when you're close to somebody, is getting to know them and really getting to know them, whether it's good or bad, and having to kind of dissect a situation that you're emotionally close to and be, I guess, non-biased in the way you approach things and present a story that actually tells a story. And at the same time, when you're telling somebody's life story, it's a challenge to do justice to what they've done, because everybody, whoever they are, has such an intricate life maze that you have to somehow navigate and present that to people. And I think that was the biggest challenge. It's feels like a really big responsibility to tell somebody's life story, and that was probably the biggest challenge I personally had. I think working with anybody is a challenge, but it's fun when it's your friends, but it can go both ways for sure. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process. I thought it was interesting. For me, at least, it's my own, for my own growth and stuff. I'm super rich, so it was really easy. Well, Craig and I basically funded it. I was shooting it. I started off on the mirror that I owned. U2 got that for me. I did a video for them in Ireland, actually on the LGBTQ community, and I documented that. And so I had that camera. Then when I realized that was too bulky, I went to a C200, which aren't too expensive, and I got a cinema lens that had auto zoom, so you could just operate it yourself. And those cameras all have there's basically 3 channels of sound, so you can mix the sound yourself while you're shooting. So I think becoming self-sufficient is a really important part of working within a budget. We also did a small Kickstarter for, I think we raised $50,000, which was for the editing. But in general,
I think it really worked.
What's that?
So
it did. It worked because it let our friends. I really wasn't super into the idea, but I think what it did was allow our community of friends to get involved. I didn't really know about those kind of things because I've never raised money like that. So we did it really kind of on our own time with that little bit of money. But I think just being as hands-on as possible really helps with, and kind of it's that old saying, where there's a will, there's a way. You just figure out how to do it. I also don't like a lot of people around. When I do photo shoots, for example, I don't have any assistants or anything. I just like it minimal, and I'm kind of I can kind of see things, and Craig is he's very much gets it done. So between that combination, we were able to work on a pretty small budget. I imagine that it's different for everyone. For myself, I think that just comes down to passion. I have, I guess, more experience in the photography world. I have a lot of young people reach out to me, and I give lectures to classes sometimes, volunteer doing that. And I usually tell them you kind of don't do this with real, any kind of expectations in mind to win something or to really do anything, minus that you have to make it because you kind of wake up and you just have to make it. probably the reason I didn't hear the award get announced, is I was thinking about these kids when I was walking here, and I was staring at their clothes, and I was sitting up there thinking about that. And it's just a constant thing. You wake up in the morning and you're thinking about clothing and fashion and culture. And so I guess the important thing is that it's important to you. That's my personal opinion. I don't know that much about festivals, but I just finished a 3-year tour with the Chili Peppers. And one thing I could say is that if there was no audience, there would really be no show. And I think, like you were saying, if there's to show something, then I guess, you just make it and it sits there. So I think it's important to provide a venue for everything and anything. And if this is a venue for people to express themselves, I find that important.